Hello, hello, my fellow broke aristocrats. Look what we're doing. We are making Dr. Whimsy's lunch, and the purpose of this lunch is to eat it. But before we eat it, I want to have a little conversation about feeding your family frugally, cheaply, healthfully, nutritiously. We've talked about this before. We will talk about it ad nauseum until I have made my mark in the world. And hopefully made a difference that is good. So today's menu is going to be a curried chicken, rice, and veggies. Any veggies will do ya. Basically look in your tinder and see what you've got to use up. Not all veggies cook at the same rate, so you want to cook it in stages. It doesn't take very long. This dish will probably take under an hour to make. Just because I am going to be using brown rice, but I wanted to show you the setup and how we create a frugal, nutrient-dense meal. And this is the way that we should be eating, whether we are making $1 million a year or $25,000 a year. This is the way human beings were meant to eat, and everything can be picked up frugally. It's all cost effective. Some of the stuff is even available at the 99-cent store. You know, this is not expensive stuff. Let me talk about it. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is the meat. This is one, yes, my fellow broke aristocrats, one thigh. That's it. You see how thinly sliced this thigh has been sliced? This is the traditional way in other parts of the world that meat is distributed. This is only a couple of ounces. And it's one thigh, is going to be serving at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 servings. To give you a perspective, I am compensating by adding protein from another source, and that's going to be peas. So if you feel like you want to do more chicken, you can do 2 chicken thighs, play with it, but the idea here is that you really want to be focusing more on vegetables. So we've talked about 80 to 90% of total caloric intake coming from the plant kingdom. Right here we're talking about 5% animal product, give or take. I've got some peas here. Use whatever is in your tinder and you need to use up. These are frozen. I bought a cauliflower for $4 at the Indian store. This cauliflower was the largest cauliflower I've ever seen in my life. It was the equivalent of 4 cauliflowers. So all this cauliflower ran me 75 cents, realistically, about 2 cups of that. 1 very large carrot that was looking sad, needed to get used up. About 1/3 of a large onion. I'm using 2/3 of the rice. I've soaked it, I've cleaned it and soaked it. And I'm going to be using a little bit of olive oil, some spices, salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic. And here's the curry powder. You can pick up curry powder anywhere. You can also make it from scratch, but that is the curry powder. So I'm going to turn the camera now over to the oven, and you are going to watch me make this amazing dish. Will probably run you, feeding your family, under $1. Let's take a look. Okay, so what I've done is I've just sauteed the onions in a little bit, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and added some chicken. I added some carrots, onions, and now I'm going to add a little bit of curry powder. That's always an individual choice, how much curry powder you want. And I'm going to also do a little bit of sea salt here. I'm doing this one-handed. I apologize. I try to be not adding a lot of salt because we want to be mindful that too much sodium is associated with hypertension, coronary artery disease risk increase. Also, if you do too much salt, it's not very good for the kidneys. So for that reason, we always want to be, either don't salt your food or salt judiciously. And so I'm going to go ahead and cook this up. And we're going to go ahead after that, and we're going to go ahead and add some rice. Now, this already has a little bit of water in it because I've rinsed it to get out any cooties and whatnot. If you've got a cup of rice, you don't want to add more than 1.5 cups of water to that because you are going to be getting water from your vegetables. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this with water. I'll go ahead and bring it down to simmer and simmer it for about 30-35 minutes, and then I will go ahead and add my vegetables. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cooked this, and as you can see, it's cooking really nicely. I'm going to go ahead and steam it. The rice has been cooking for about 30 minutes. Now's a good time to add the cauliflower, which I'll cook down for about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to turn it off, and when I turn it off, before I turn it off, I'll add the peas. As you can see, it looks really nice. I went ahead and added a chopped tomato just because I really like chopped tomato, and I cooked that in as well. I had some extra Roma tomatoes. But I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on this and let this steam. There's a lot of water in the vegetables, which is why I only used about 1.5 cups of water for 2/3 of a cup of rice. So I'm going to go ahead and steam this, add the peas, and then I'll go ahead and plate it for you. Okay, so I cooked it about 10 minutes. I put some peas on top. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. You can go ahead and turn it off and let it set with a lid on it if you want to, but I'm going to go ahead and plate it. You can see this is one thigh, one chicken thigh. If you want to do 2, that's fine. I think I might have gone a little too low. I think, yeah, you can get 4 to 6 servings here, depending. I did add a hot pepper, a chopped, or actually a dried red pepper, just towards when it was cooking in the middle, just because I thought, you know, I want to have a little bit of spice with this, like have it be a little hot. So I added to that about 1/4 cup of, we'll do a little more, a little bit of yogurt. Yogurt is also going to be a source of protein that's going to replace the animal product. This is a low-fat. You can do a non-fat yogurt if you're trying to get the fat down, but you want to make sure you're getting adequate protein. So the protein sources other than the chicken were the peas and the yogurt. The nice thing about this dish is that, well, we're going to turn around and we're going to talk about it. Let's go ahead and turn the camera around, and we're going to have a conversation about what Dr. Whimsy just made for lunch. All right, she saw the camera come out and she just had to say hi to everybody. Your favorite broke aristocrat cat. Wouldn't that be great if that were the case? She's, as you can see, focused on the chicken and rice. So what can I tell you? Some things never change. All right, let's talk about the dish that Dr. Whimsy made for lunch. Now you can use any vegetables you like that are in the tinder. I want to talk briefly about what cheap vegetables there are. Onions are cheap, carrots are cheap, cabbage is cheap. Find what's cheap. Usually it's seasonal. Frozen peas you can usually get. They're not expensive in your frozen aisle. Now, the reason why you don't need to serve anything other than this is because this is a one-pot wonder. And what I love about one-pot wonders is that it's really the broke aristocrat's way, because many broke aristocrats might only have one pot. If you're struggling and if you're someone who only has one pot, the great thing about this recipe is that you only need one pot. The other thing I like about this is that it's seasonal. Onions and carrots are always cheap all year round. They're what we call, they're a crop that is, I think they grow them twice a year, but for whatever reason, onions and carrots seem to be cheap all year round, and that's the base. Frozen peas you can get all year round. And then you just add whatever vegetables are cheap and available. For me, I had a ton of cauliflower still sitting there in the refrigerator, and so I went ahead and I made cauliflower from it. Towards the end, I had a Roma tomato. Well, actually, in the beginning when it was boiling, I threw in a chopped Roma tomato, and I also threw in a hot pepper, a dry hot pepper, because I thought, you know, I want a little bit of a kick. Now, if you want to add more chicken, you certainly can. You could add 2 or even 3 thighs, thinly sliced. Maybe 1 thigh isn't quite enough for 4 to 6 people. Maybe I went a little too low. But the point here, I think, is fairly obvious. The majority of your caloric intake should be coming from vegetables and fruit, and a little bit can come from a whole grain. The best whole grains in terms of nutrition are quinoa, brown rice, kasha, amaranth, and millet. The modern wheat is highly allergic and can upset people's stomachs, so I'm personally moving away from it. And there's also some evidence that it seems to spike your blood glucose, leading to all kinds of health challenges. So for that reason, people tend to be frightened of grains. Don't be frightened of grains. It's good food. It's good nutrition. They can get about you can get about 30% of total caloric intakes from a whole grain. Now in Asia, it's about 50% or greater. In India, they might even be consuming up to 70 to 80% of total caloric intake from rice. I think that's if the rice is brown rice, white rice, it's not going to be as nutritious as brown rice, and probably going to be certainly a higher glycemic index. Okay, that wraps it up. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. I didn't do the calculations, but I think we're looking at this meal costing about $1 per person. Thanks for watching. Bye.